When my husband Ryan first told me that his old college friend Mark was moving back to town, I didn't think much of it. Ryan and Mark had always been close, the kind of friendship built on shared dorm rooms, late-night pizzas, and failed group projects. Over the years, I'd heard enough stories about their mischief to feel like I already knew the guy. So when Ryan asked if Mark could crash in our guest room for a few days while he finalized his apartment lease, I said yes without hesitation. It seemed like a harmless favor. Mark arrived on a rainy Wednesday evening, carrying nothing more than 2 duffel bags and a worn leather jacket that looked like it had seen better days. He had a boyish charm and a warm, easy smile. "Lauren, right?" he said, offering a handshake. "Thanks for letting me crash here. I owe you one." The first few days went smoothly. Mark was polite, stayed out of our way, and even offered to cook dinner one night. He was surprisingly good at it too, whipping up a garlic shrimp pasta that had both Ryan and me going back for seconds. He had a way of making you feel comfortable, like you'd known him forever. But as the days passed, something began to shift. Started small. One evening I came home early from work and found Mark sitting on the couch watching an old movie. I walked past in my pajamas, not thinking twice, until I noticed him glancing at me a little too long. Not in a creepy way, at least not obviously, but long enough for me to feel it. I brushed it off. Maybe I was overthinking. After all, Mark was Ryan's best friend. The next day, he offered to help me carry groceries in from the car. I thanked him, and as I passed a heavy bag to him, his fingers grazed mine. Again, it could have been innocent. But then he said, "You've got a strong grip for someone so petite." His tone was light, but the compliment landed oddly. I laughed it off awkwardly and went back to unpacking. That night, while Ryan was on a work call in the basement, I caught Mark staring again, this time from across the kitchen island. When our eyes met, he didn't look away right away. He held the gaze for just a second too long before flashing that familiar grin. "Sorry," he said. "Just thinking. You remind me of someone I used to know." I smiled politely and quickly turned my attention to cleaning up. Something about his presence was becoming a little too comfortable. The favor turned further when Ryan had to leave town for a 3-day business trip. I assumed Mark would make himself scarce, maybe spend more time at coffee shops or working remotely from his laptop like he usually did. Instead, he lingered. On the first morning Ryan was gone, I was making coffee when Mark walked into the kitchen shirtless. His towel hung low on his hips, and his hair was damp from the shower. "Didn't mean to startle you," he said, smirking as he reached for a mug. I turned away, pretending to be busy with the coffee pot. "It's fine," I mumbled. "Just didn't expect you this early." "Gotta get my caffeine fix," he said. "Besides, it's nice having some company in the house." I tried to keep the conversation brief and returned to my room quickly after that. I felt uncomfortable, and yet part of me didn't want to cause a scene or make assumptions. He was a guest after all. Later that afternoon, he offered to fix the loose door handle in the guest bathroom. I didn't see a reason to say no. As he worked, I sat on the couch trying to focus on my laptop. He kept making small talk, telling me about his past relationships, asking if I ever got bored being home alone. "Must be hard with Ryan gone so much," he said casually. "He travels for work," I replied. "It's part of the job. I bet you get lonely." I looked up from my screen. "Not really. I have enough to keep me busy." He chuckled, wiped his hands with a towel and stood up. "Just saying. If you ever need someone to talk to." That night I locked my bedroom door. The next morning I found a note on the kitchen counter. It read, "You looked beautiful yesterday. Just thought you should know." I stared at the handwriting, my stomach turning. I wasn't imagining things anymore. This wasn't harmless. This was calculated. I confronted Mark as soon as he returned from his morning jog. "Did you leave this?" I asked, holding up the note. He looked at it, then at me, and gave a half shrug. "Maybe. Thought it'd make you smile." "It didn't," I said firmly. "You're Ryan's friend. This is inappropriate." He didn't apologize. Instead, he stepped closer and said, "I didn't mean anything by it. You're just easy to talk to. You're different than I expected." I stepped back. "You need to respect boundaries." He raised his hands. "Of course. Get it. Sorry if I crossed a line." I didn't believe him. When Ryan returned the next day, I didn't say anything right away. Felt torn. Would he believe me? Would it damage their friendship? What if Mark twisted the story? But my instincts told me to protect my home, my peace, and my marriage. That evening, Ryan noticed something was off. "You've been quiet," he said as we got ready for bed. I took a deep breath and told him everything. From the stairs to the towel incident to the note. First, Ryan was stunned. Then his expression hardened. "He did what?" "I didn't want to cause drama," I said. "But I don't feel comfortable around him anymore." Ryan didn't waste time. The next morning, he asked Mark to leave. There was no yelling, no confrontation. Just a simple, firm request. Mark looked surprised but didn't argue. He packed his things and left with nothing more than a nod. In the weeks that followed, Ryan and I talked a lot. About boundaries, trust, and how even familiar faces can carry unfamiliar intentions. Ryan told me he regretted not seeing the signs earlier, and I told him I regretted not speaking up sooner. We both learned something from the experience. Mark never reached out again. And while part of me wished things had stayed simple, I was grateful the truth had come out before things escalated further. What seemed like a harmless favor, a simple act of hospitality, turned into a reminder that not everyone who enters your home deserves your trust. Some people wear smiles like masks, and sometimes, protecting your peace means recognizing when it's time to take the mask off and ask them to leave. Life returned to normal slowly. I went back to my routines, and Ryan and I grew closer through the ordeal. Trust, after all, isn't just about believing each other. It's also about standing up for what's right together. And if there was one good thing that came out of it, it was the reassurance that Ryan had my back when it mattered most. Not every favor is harmless, but love, real love, stands its ground. And in the end, that's what truly matters.